Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Spiritual sex and candy, yeah.
Hello, all you sultry souls out there. Welcome to Spiritual Sex and Candy. I am Heather, your shamanic sweetener. And of course, I am joined by the ever amazing JP Adkins, our freedom Jedi. Hi,
Hello, everyone.
JP.
Hi, Heather. It's so nice to see you.
I know it's great to be here right before the hurricane. Let's do this.
I know. Well, you know what happened to the Wicked Witch of the West?
Yes.
Or no, it was the East. Wicked Witch of the East.
The Wicked Witch of the West was the one that came and
Right. She's the one
haunted
that
Dorothy for killing the Wicked Witch of the
Witch of the
East.
East. Right. So now that you're on East Coast, watch out you
Right.
don't get a house blown on you.
Yeah, let's hope not. Let's hope not.
I just, just
A house fall on me. That's what
right.
we're worried about. How's everyone doing this evening? I hope this finds you um amazing today.
Yeah.
Before we get started, we're on episode 21. But before we get started with all of that, this is your warning to leave if you are easily offended. We are a trigger warning. We talk about sex, we talk about drugs, we talk about all the things that no one else wants to talk about because we have probably done them. So if you are easily, if you're easily offended, you can see your way out. We still love you unconditionally, but you probably don't want to be here if you're easily offended. And with that being said, we're on episode
Yeah. Sometimes we
21.
don't want to be here either.
The
So,
plot twist change the course of your story, which this is like
damn.
perfect because, as you all know, I just moved across the country. Talk about changing
Yeah.
the course of your life.
And it's really interesting when you do something that drastic. What has been your experience? How are you seeing yourself differently now that you did that move?
My energy is definitely different. I feel crazy as this is because I'm from Vegas and I am a true Vegas girl, don't get me wrong. But like so much more confidence. Like when I'm walking around here, I don't know if it's because no one knows me. Not that there's not like everyone in Vegas knows me, but like I don't know, there's just a different confidence and energy around being here. But I'm also in a completely different environment as well. So, of course, that makes a huge difference.
Truly, truly. I know that after my brother passed, I had more energy and more confidence to be who I was because I wasn't in his shadow as much anymore.
Yeah.
It's really weird. I'll, I'll never forget this for the rest of my days. One of my really good friends had uh, become a bartender at a different bar. And so we all went over, all the friends went over and supported him,
Of
like
course.
good friends do, right? And but we got there really early, like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And another one of our friends came in and he had a drink and he said, you know what? I'm not really ready to be here yet. Do you want to go and watch a movie or something? And I said, yeah, let's go see a movie. So I left the bar. We went to his place. I think we watched a movie. Honestly, I
We're going to
think
say you watched a movie.
I watched a movie. I don't think
This
we
was
hooked up.
before Netflix and chill, right? Like
Right. This is before Netflix and chill, I think. No,
at least
Netflix
that's
was
not
stuff
what
in
we
there.
called it.
Right, right. But we went and watched a movie and hung out and like was chill. I don't like I said, I I can't exactly remember all of it because of what happened later. Later on I got really trashed and blacked out and all kinds of things happened. But we so later on that night I ended up bringing somebody home. Okay, so I went back to the bar and left again at the end of the night with someone else. My brother calls me the next morning and says, why aren't you the slut? Okay, my brother wasn't at the bar. Okay, he passed away, and I still didn't know who it was, how he found out until like 3 years later when
Oh, we lost
the
Jeff.
other person was camping with him, and he was like, "Yeah, we, he was." I remember the one time that you left with two different guys. I talked to your brother, like, "You're a motherfucker." Like it was
Right.
completely
Someone ratted you out.
in passing, just this little in passing little conversation.
Right. Like, oh yeah, I saw your brother a couple times. Right.
Right, right, and it was like,
He was in and out. Literally.
right. So it's been interesting since he passed. He's been passed for I think 8 years now or 9 years, and it's a different energy when I'm out and
Yeah.
about. I don't have that thing over my shoulder. Like my brother's gonna find out what I'm doing. So not that
Did
I'm
that
always
help
doing
to
something
keep you
nasty.
in line once you knew he did find out that shit was going down? Or, I mean,
It made me think about things a little bit. Like I would be more conscious of the appearance of what I was doing instead of
I never had any
uh,
of those people to do that, because my dad, when people tried to tattle on me, it was usually to my dad, because we hung out at hung out at the bar and worked at the bar that his motorcycle group went to and hung out at. And I remember one time, so I had this special relationship with the bartender, not like a sexual relationship. We were just really good friends. But I always would flash my titties because, why not? You know. And but I loved to do it when the bar was packed.
mhm.
When no one else was paying attention, and I'd stand up and go, "Hey Mike," and I'd flash him quick enough for him to see, and that was it. And so the bar was packed. It was like some party. And I did this and I stood up on the railing of the bar and flashed him, and someone went down and said to my dad, "Hey, your daughter's down there flashing people." And he goes, "And what would you like me to do about it? She's grown." Like, she's an
Right.
adult. What do you want me to say? Like,
Yeah, it's
so I
not
mean,
like
like, I didn't have that angel, devil on my shoulder, because my dad was, I hung out with his motorcycle buddies, you know.
yeah, and it wasn't like he was, he said anything, you shouldn't be doing that or anything. It was
Right,
really he was taunting me about it,
right.
and
I know what you did last night, right? Or
right,
who you did
right,
last night.
right, and he wasn't there, and so then it started making me like conscious about, oh, what's going to get back, and sometimes you just don't want things to get back to your your brother,
Right.
even though we were really close, and I could tell many many stories. It's not for this topic, but I will tell another story at some point, about the first time I ever went to a sex party. But yeah, it
Like an
was.
orgy party? Okay. I,
Yeah, it's
I've
not this
I have
topic,
not
but we'll.
experienced that. Though I am not, I'm more of, I like the idea of getting caught, but I don't actually want anyone watching, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
I mean, I guess if it was private, like if I was dating someone and he wanted to like see me with another man or something like that, like I'd be down for my partner to watch. But I've been invited to all kinds of sex clubs and, and parties and things like that. And it's just not, I, I like, I like my freak in private. I'm not a
Yeah.
public freak. Though I have been kicked out of a sex store before.
Okay, I have to ask the question. I know that I'm going to probably like,
Why did I get kicked out?
yes. Why'd you get kicked out of a sex store?
I was on drugs. I want to preface that. I was high. Um, Not that that makes it okay. It just happens to be part of the story. My partner and I went into, and it was a sex store in Vegas, so that is even more so. Um, we went in and we were watching movies in one of the booths, and we invited some dude in, and I gave him a blow job because it was turning my partner on, and stuff. And he went out and told the guy that worked there that I was back there giving blowjobs.
Oh,
Yeah, and he came and he was like, you can't do that in here. You guys have to go." And we're like, We were already leaving, but we did get kicked out. We didn't like get 86th or anything, but he's like, "You can't be in here doing that." We're like, "Okay, peace out."
Peace
Look at
out.
the girl.
Yeah, yeah. I got kicked out of a bar that it was a shock. When I tell this, it's like the little seedy bar in Detroit, and it was called Hayloft. It was called the Gray Loft. It was its nickname for years. It was always an older crowd. Like
Oh, yeah.
back when I was a kid, it was an older crowd, and it was still pretty much an older crowd. They just now recently changed names, changed owners, and it's starting to shift slightly younger. Where the youngest was like 30, 35. It's now starting to hit like 28, you know, 28 to 30. So,
You just made us old. Can I just like,
yes,
you're getting
I
double birds for that?
well,
Because,
I was 18 when this
okay,
happened.
fair enough.
Okay, and I'm in this
So a
bar.
35-year-old would be, okay, all
Right.
right.
So I didn't want to be at this bar. I wanted to be across town at a different bar, and my brother liked the. It's a nice bar. I understand why he likes it now that I've calmed and mellowed and gotten older. But but when I was 18, I wanted to be in the clubs. I wanted to be dancing. I wanted to be dancing. I wanted strippers. I wanted the whole nine. Really dancing because I was a good dancer at that point. And so I go and I hit the jukebox and I like put on all this dance music and just rock it out and start dancing on the tables because I was bored and there was really no one there. And um
Get
so
the
I
party
started dancing on the
started.
tables and yeah, just to have fun and like be crazy. And by the way, this is sober, completely sober.
Oh, yeah.
And I started dancing on the pool table, and that's why I got kicked out because it was a pool tournament,
Oh,
and I moved some balls, so I got kicked out.
that is the lamest reason for being kicked out of a bar I have ever heard.
I've gotten blowjobs on that bar.
I was gonna say, like, that is the lamest,
Okay, so
lamest
this is fucking
reason to
crazy.
get kicked out of a bar.
I know, I know. It's sad but true. But
But let's do plot twist, changing the course of your story. So many of us have a story that, when I tell my story, a lot of times I'm so disassociated from my story anymore that, um, it almost doesn't feel like it's my own story. It
mhm.
really doesn't. I mean, there are points in my life where I look back and I go, that doesn't happen to people. Like, you know, that doesn't happen to people.
Yeah, yeah, and I totally understand that. There are definitely parts of um my existence that are is just like wow, and I told you those lights. I know exactly what you're dealing with. We both bought the same. We both bought the same ring light, and it is not good. Do not. I'm going to put a review that do not buy it
Yeah,
because of
it's
it.
not good. They keep asking me to review it, and I'm gonna have to because it's literally been on for 15 minutes and it just went off.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna be
and
dark for now. I need to get like an overhead light. This is what happens when you move across the country and you're trying to readjust and figure out your space. Like before,
mhm,
when I was in Vegas, I had a huge chandelier right above me. So I always had the perfect lighting because it was this
yeah,
giant chandelier above my head. And now I'm
yeah,
like tucked in the corner, which I love because it's my own space.
yes. It's always nicer to be in your own space.
It is. It is.
It's um. I just got a whole new setup too this week, as you know, and so you guys are seeing me much clearer. I'm
Yeah.
clear. Yay. But the bad news about that is that my lighting's not adequate either, and I'm like trying to scramble to figure out lighting, and figuring out how I can power things correctly because I had some issues there with power. So I'm having power
Yeah.
fun and all kinds of like things and stuff and things.
Yeah.
So, but defining limiting beliefs that no longer serve us. The first thing is to say, where are you saying that you can't?
Yeah. Yeah.
I had
Yeah. So our first question really is like, what do how what we have to identify what limiting beliefs are. And it's just that anything you tell yourself that you can't do or that you're not good enough or you don't deserve. But part of that is not only changing what you think, but your internal voice about that. You have to identify those things, right? Identify where those limiting beliefs are.
yeah, and it's so for me, one of mine was always around sports, right? My younger brother, the next one down from me, was the athlete. His nickname was Jocko, literally from birth. And he was just the athlete. He was really good. He was a captain of the basketball team and all through elementary school and like played soccer and did this and did that and played football one year and like all of the things, right? I'm a musician. I play instruments. But I'm the band geek much more than I was ever a jock. And I did Little League for a season. I ended up leaving like 2 weeks before the season was over to go to see my aunt in New Jersey. Or no, she was in Virginia Beach at that point because I could. I was in third grade, and it was kind of cool that I get to go on this big trip and away.
Yeah.
And I wasn't any good at it. So for years, I said, I'm just not good at sports. I'm not good at this. I don't, I can't do this. I'm not this person. And it's Jim, all of it, like, didn't even try because,
Yeah.
I'm not good at it. And then I decided my first podcast episode with the Creative Nomad show with Alonzo, really great show. It had to be broken up into two parts because we had so many great things to talk about my very first show. And one of the things we talked about is how to keep going on the road, how to keep your exercise routine and stuff like that. And I talked about that a lot, that the only place you should ever have to run is to the bathroom. And he said, you just have
If
to
this
find things
fat
that would
bitch
be
is
fun.
running, you better run too because
Exactly.
I can be fast as hell.
Uh-huh.
Don't get it twisted. If I'm running, I can fucking run. But I'm a
Right.
sprinter. I am not a long distance runner. And if I'm running, you should probably run too.
Yeah. Yeah. So he said, you got to find something you really like and really enjoy. And one of the things I really enjoyed was kickball. Okay. The very next day, the gay kickball league started, all the ads for it, that you should sign up. And then they're like, all these things, everything lined up for me to do kickball. It was insane. So I did kickball. Do you guys know that I am a award-winning championship kickball player? My team won the
Wow.
championship. I know.
That is fabulous. That needs to be on your resume.
It won. They gave me an award. Now my award is most improved, and I lost the only game that we lost, actually, because I kicked the ball that I shouldn't have kicked. And my coach told me not to kick the ball, but my dumbass
Kicked it anyway.
kicked it anyways because it did come right to me beautifully, and it went right to the pitcher's chest. So yeah, I was out, which was the third out when we had bases loaded, and I was either going to be the hero or, you know,
Right.
but he was throwing balls all day, so it was windy. There was reasons why I shouldn't have kicked it. I probably would have got on base, which will push somebody in, which will win the game.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
See, you just blew it for everyone.
I blew it for everyone. I blew it for everyone.
But
But
all of us have a story about that, right? Being told you're not good enough to do something, being, or taking what someone says, like I'm neurospicy. I take everything very literally. So if I don't know that you're being sarcastic, and I'm fucking sarcastic, but if I don't know you're being sarcastic, I will take that seriously. Like my dad used to say stuff to me and he would say it jokingly, but I remember as a kid having anxiety that I didn't know was anxiety, by the way, but my dad would say things like, I like you. I don't care what those other people say about you. Right? There was no one saying anything about me. There was no one,
Mhm.
right? But in my mind, I was like, what are they saying? And he would go, and he would laugh, right? Only I just felt that that was, like that meant someone was saying something to me. Is that me or you?
But
Someone's getting a phone call.
that is not me.
Huh?
I turned all my notifications off.
So did I. I don't know. That is so weird.
I don't hear it.
Sorry.
It's okay. Welcome to live broadcasting, folks.
It's my pregnant daughter. Hold on. Yeah, this is what happens when you're live. Um, but
She has
she's
not.
like been sick, and so I just
You
want
do have
to
to check.
like, yeah, I have to check and make. I'm like, why is that ringing? I don't know why it's doing it on here though. That's so crazy. I don't know how to turn my. It is on mindful.
Because
That's great. Okay.
you have
Anyway,
eye products, and so they
that's
all
what
talk to
happens
each
when
other.
you do a live show. Random shit happens. I'm like, why is my computer ringing? I mean, yeah. Anyway, I don't know if anyone
I
else
love
could
it.
hear it, but I could.
No,
Oh well.
nope, not at all.
Next time I won't say anything. I'll let it ring. Sorry. Yeah. There was lots of things about myself or things that I thought I wasn't worthy of. Um, questioning every one of my beliefs in any way, shape, or form. I think that's like the biggest way to change the course of your story is start questioning everything you say about yourself.
Mhm.
If it's an internal dialogue and it's negative, you need to change, stopping and recognizing it and then switching the story that you tell yourself.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge, and it all comes down to a couple things. See, anything that we look at, anything time we talk to somebody, or we're in public, or even with ourselves, right? There's a a pattern going on in your head, right? And the big pattern is, do you look good or look bad,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
then you're filtering everything through, is this true or false? Do you trust or distrust it? Why is this? How is this? Because, in order to, is it right or wrong? Do you like it or
Yeah.
dislike it? Is it good or bad? What's the problem? What's the
And where did that
solution?
thought process come from?
So a lot of this is just things that you've been programmed, right?
Right.
You've been
It could,
programmed to
and it could
believe.
be that you're just programmed. It also could come down to a very specific moment in your life or a relationship of some sort that you were in, so like I have body dysmorphia and it fucks with me, right? And I'm big. So there's that part. I'm a big girl. But I've always been a big girl. And I started getting boobs in the 3rd grade, people. The 3rd and 4th grade, I was wearing a bra. Okay? And I actually gained my weight throughout middle school because I didn't want to have boobs. The bigger I was, the less I felt that I was unattractive, right? And so then I wouldn't get attention because I was molested when I was in the 3rd grade, right? When I was 7, 8 years old, I was molested. And so I wanted to make myself unattractive. By the way, it did not work. just for the record, because there was attempts many times after that, from different men, which of course then breeds a whole nother set of internal dialogue. But as a teenager, I was told things like, I have a friend of mine's dad who told me you would lose weight if you would just put your fork down in between bites. I was 16. I weighed like 160, 170 pounds.
Mhm.
And he literally told me if you put your fork down in between bites, you'll lose weight. I was devastated. My
He thought it was
dad
being
would say
helpful too.
things to me like, do you really need that second helping? Right? And of course, looking back on it, it was out of love. Like he wanted me to be healthy and and things like that. But that was not the way to do it, by the way, right?
Right.
But that became this internal dialogue of being heavy was not attractive. If I gained weight, I would be less attractive to men. And that has been a cycle my whole life that like it does not make me any less attractive. I still get hit on all the time. It does not make a difference. It does not, but
And that's something that we have to realize is that most of the time these are not true. These statements are
right.
not true.
Yeah.
Because and you can prove them false almost always. Right?
Yes.
If you just think about it, logically and stop. I have a thing about power tools. I talk about this frequently. I think I've talked about it on this show where I've literally shake when I have power tools.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
It's no logical reason. I've worked with people on it. I've worked with hypnotists. I know where it comes from. I know what it is. I played through this, but it still doesn't stop the fact that if I pick up, I had a saw in my hand when I was working on the roof, and I literally was shaking so bad, and to just do this little piece of cut off this little piece of fiberglass. You know, I knew I was safe. I know that I
Yeah.
can handle these things, right? So I could prove it 5 ways from Sunday. It doesn't change the fact that that's what's there. So some of the times, one of the things that I do frequently is I start telling the story, and I start telling it over and over in different ways, in funny ways and sad ways. Is it a drama? Which scene are we going to do? How are we going to play this? Right? As an actor,
Yeah.
as a trained actor, I was trained on how to say lines like, say it funny, say it sad, say it this, get some angst in there. Are you a teenager? Who is seeing this? Where's this coming from? Who is it coming from? And start telling that story like 100 different times, 50 different times, at least five. Do 5 different versions
Different
of
versions of it. Yeah.
how like this story and see how much drama you can put in. I had to walk uphill 4 different ways, and in the
Right.
snow,
In the snow,
and
both ways, with no shoes and
with the
sandwich
right,
bags on our feet, right?
uh-huh,
Bread bags on our feet,
red
which actually
bags.
they really did do that. But my dad used to tell us that all the time, right? I had to walk uphill both ways. Don't whine about walking.
When we went sledding, I'll never forget when we went sledding. Mom kept bread bags in the wintertime for that purpose,
Yeah,
because typically we didn't need snowshoes. Like, really, yeah, I live in Michigan. Yes, when I was little, we had boots, but once we hit like 10, but we still
right.
went sledding, and so Mom would say, "There's bread bags in this bag in there for you,"
Yeah,
and we would put bread bags on because that's really the only time I ever really needed boots.
yeah.
I didn't do skiing.
I
I
lived
don't
in the
like
desert. We didn't
snow.
do that.
Yeah, yeah, we
But my dad did grow up in Ohio, and so that was always his joke was, he
mhm.
went uphill both ways.
Yeah, you were in the Devil's Satchel
Oh
instead.
my gosh. Yes. I lived where the sidewalk got hot enough. We did cook eggs and stuff on the sidewalk as a kid.
You could cook eggs in Michigan on the sidewalk, but it's gonna
Yeah,
It's
ours
got
was,
steam too. So
yeah, no,
that's the
ours was,
difference. But you
yeah,
could do that on, you could do that in December.
bake cookies in your car window because
Uh-huh.
inside the car gets hot enough to bake cookies. Yeah. Yeah, so we tell
That's
ourselves all kinds of bullshit stories all the time. That's where anxiety comes from too. If you suffer from anxiety, it's a bunch of lies that you tell yourself about scenarios that might happen that are probably not going to happen and never come to fruition, but you tell the worst case scenario. So one of the fun things that I love to do with situations like that is what if everything goes right? Right? So instead of asking yourself what what are all the bad things that could happen, right? Because that's what we tend to do. We tend to find
Mhm.
the bad things, right? And instead say, what if everything goes right? What if everything works out exactly the way you want to? What if that
I
happens?
I used to say that to mom all the time, um, because especially when it comes to me traveling, she would ask me all these doomsday scenarios. And by the way, 80% of those doomsday scenarios happened on my trip to New Orleans. So when I tell you this
What?
trip was, and which is why I have to sit here and Heather and I know how much I have to sit here and go, and this happened that was really great. And I got to meet all these people and I got to look
Yes.
at this property that was amazing. And I got to really like do some inner work and like really work on the things like I can use power tools and I can actually diagnose things. And I fixed the refrigerator and I did, all these
Yes.
cool things that I did. And,
Well,
you
because
know,
we have to retrain our brain to think differently, right? When
mhm,
we're changing our story, first we have to undo all the things that we were told we were or we weren't, that we are or we aren't, right? And then we have to retrain our brain to think that way because it doesn't take just one time, everyone. So all of you out there that go, well, I tried for 3 days to change my thought process. Guess what? It doesn't work like that. And still to this day, and I've been on this journey for a very long time, and I've been actively on this journey for oh wow, like 6 years
shh.
now, 7 years, where I've been actively on this healing journey. And I, of course, I did not do this like a normal person would, and I jumped in with both feet and went to therapy, and therapy opened up a whole can of worms of things that I was like, "Oh, now what do I do with all of this?" Um and ironically, going to addiction therapy and learning all the reasons why I used and numbed, though I was never truly an addict of any one thing, and in the grand scheme of things, did not do a whole lot of drugs, to be honest. Like, or I mean, alcohol probably was the most, but neither here nor there. Um, and then I did a whole lot of drugs because I got no coping skills out of therapy. And I am all for therapy. So before anyone comes at me about my next statement, but if you're seeing the same therapist for years and years and years and you're not getting any better and you're not learning to deal with or getting coping skills, you need to find a new therapist because now you're just going and paying someone to talk to them. If you want to do that, come to me and I'll actually give you coping skills, just for the record. Come set up an energetic
See,
session with me because if you've been going to the same therapist for 7 years, and I had a client who said that, I saw the same therapist,
mhm,
I've been seeing the same therapist for 7 years, then you need a different therapist
you do. But on
because
that,
that's not the
my
point of
mom,
therapy.
right, my mom, I'm going to say this, and I bring up my mom a lot because she's a really good example. And if you guys don't know, I took care of her for 5 years. We lived together. Um, so I have a lot of experience, and she's been sick for over 20. So there's a lot of things that goes into that.
Yeah,
And she had a same therapist for like 8 years, 9 years, right? And the therapist was telling her good things. Like I was there, and she said, "Well, the therapist told me this." I'm like, "So are you gonna do that?"
right. Well,
Like,
yeah, you have to apply what the therapist says
right,
too.
right. So, but she went to a new therapist. The new therapist told her about mindfulness.
Yeah,
Guys, I've been teaching meditation for over 10 years now. Do you not think that I would tell my mother about mindfulness at some point in the journey?
You're her kid. What do
Every
you know?
every friggin' doctor we've ever seen has talked to her about mindfulness. Every single doctor. I
Yeah.
guarantee it. Okay. This new doctor tells her about this new thing, mindfulness. And she's like, yeah, so I just, do this like weird breathing thing that I told her like
Right.
probably 10 years ago. This weird box breath thing. You breathe in for 4 and then hold it for 4 and then breathe out for 4 and then hold it for 4. Oh yeah, that one. Oh, that's really cool, Mom. But
So that happens to me all the time. Like when I
huh?
say all the time, with my friends, where I will tell them this is the chain of events or this is what you should do, and then they come back to me and someone else said it, and then magically it's this like revelation that they have, and I'm like, oh, you mean that same shit that I told you to do before? Yeah, imagine that, right? And everything is not going to work. It's not here's the other part of that. If something is not working for you, this is where people try one thing and then they go, oh, well, that didn't work for me, so I'm out. So
Hmm.
like I literally with one of my closest friends recently, I she says to me, I have a really hard time meditating and because I can't shut my mind off. I go, well, that's not what the fuck meditation is. By the way, that is not what the fuck meditation is. I mean, there is a point in meditation that you can get to that point, but no one sits the fuck down and goes, and their mind goes silent. That's not how it works. It's not how it works. It's not how it works.
It's not how any of this
That's why
works.
there's so many different types of meditation. If you go on a walk daily, put some fucking music on, and that could be your meditation. If you get on the treadmill, I know people that their treadmill is their meditation time. I know people who meditate in the shower and do ritual in the shower. Um, there's so many different ways to meditate. There's guided meditations. For me, I'm a guided meditation woman. Why? Because I need someone telling me what the fuck to do. I need someone saying, okay, Heather, fucking imagine this and go to this place. And now we're going to release this. And
Sometimes, yeah, it's really, if my mind is really active, I have to have a guide. If I'm stressed, if I'm
yeah.
there's or it's either that or I have to go out and walk. And what I do when I'm doing walking meditation is I listen to my footfall. So it's the footfalls that I'm concentrating on. And until I can like actually see something else and hear something else other than the footfalls, because that's the first way. That's my first
And then
focus for that.
you get a rhythm going and then you hear the rhythm and right? It's the
And I
same as
can hear
like
the
going back to
birds.
your breath, right? If you're
Mhm.
sitting down and your mind's wandering, you can always come back to your breath and just think about breathing. And when you go, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, shake it all about.
Right.
Dancing could be a meditation for you. But she says this to me and I go, well, that's not what it's about. And I could tell you 10 different ways off the top of my head, different meditations that you can do. And I go, why wouldn't you come to me and ask me about that? Well, because that's what you do for a living, and I don't want to take advantage of our friendship. Bitch, people take advantage of my kindness all the time. Let me just tell you. I have people all the time that message me that I've known for years and years that I don't even really know, but I know on social media that ask me about things. You know what? I'm going to tell you because I'm not going to gatekeep. I had someone today that I don't know message me and ask me about a cord cutting. And we're in a mutual group on Facebook, and she sent me a message about a cord cutting, and I said this is what I could do when I could do it, and this is how much it's going to be, right?
Hmm.
And she said, well, can you just tell me how to do it? And I did. I could have said no because that's money for me, that's my business, but I didn't. Of course I didn't. I went, This is how you do it. Because really, it's more powerful if you do it yourself, right?
And the thing is that if you can do it yourself,
Yeah.
okay, it's great. The problem is most of the time, especially on a cord cutting, uh-uh. No, I'm not doing. Yes, I can, and
Right.
no, I'm not playing that game. The last cord cutting I did was fucking dramatic, and I call it my exorcism. No,
There you
because
go.
you don't know when once you get into that space, you don't know what's going to show up and what how it's going to, unless you have really strong containers and you have this in a space. You know, that's when I actually met Mikey. So my guide Mikey, the other knows who I talk about. So it's kind of funny because he sat there and said, "What, I don't exist?" Because I always said he didn't exist. You can't be who you say you are. And then he showed himself to me like fully, and
I'm so glad that I don't have to go through those things. So I have, so I do have a, I used to call my spiritual advisor. He's a very good friend of mine. He's an old family friend. He messages me every once in a while and goes, "Here, look at this cool information."
uh-huh.
That sort of thing. But at the beginning, he was very integral in what I do now and who I am now. And I'm very thankful for him. And I totally just, my mind just totally went blank.
You don't have to do these things. You don't have to go through the same things I went through because you don't doubt like I do.
That's it.
So
So so he is that same type of person where he has to, like, it has to be in his face in order, and so the same thing happened to him with Jesus, where he was in this meditation and they're like, let Christ consciousness in, right? And open up to Christ consciousness. And which, by the way, Jesus was a very enlightened individual. That's who he was. Um and so, but this person did not believe, he was like, whatever, that's some bullshit. He was just some dude. And Jesus came to him in the during the meditation and stood in front of him and said, now what? And he said it was so realistic that he opened his eyes during the meditation because he was like, wait a minute, there's someone standing in front of me. And he opened his eyes. And of course, there was no one physically standing in front of him. And he closed his eyes and there he was again. And he said, and then I had a whole conversation with him. And now I believe. And can I just say, I'm really thankful that I don't have to do those things. I'm like, it's all true. All of it is real. All of it is true. All of it, all of it's true.
well, it comes down to having to fight so hard against what I brought up with.
Right.
So I had to really come into this space where I can accept that all of it could be, again, all of it is there. There's a level of all of it. And once I got to a space where it was okay, but the funny thing is that even in my belief system before, this is a Catholic belief, not a Baptist belief. So, like, it wouldn't have been part of my belief system to begin with. It was more of a, I didn't believe in that when I did believe in this. So now now this is just friggin' craziness that you're talking
Right.
about. This is crazy talk. And I'm talking about Archangel Michael, guys. He's my guide. He has been for a long time, and he again, I find it difficult to believe in angels, and that's how he likes to appear to me. So his consciousness, and so I call him Mikey because if he's going to show up to me like that, I'm going to just call him whoever I think, and it pisses him off, which is kind of fun. Um, but it's also the reason my other guy doesn't tell me her name. So because I call Mikey Mikey, whoever she is.
So my guides, I named them because it's what I'm comfortable with. The only one I did
Yeah.
not name that was told to me was my because I have several and they all have different, like, for different things. And my personal one that's like, hey bitch, you need to fucking do this. was told to me what her name was and what she looked like. Only because it helped me to connect with her because I didn't at the time I wasn't sure how to connect or that sort of thing. So then it kind of gave me an idea of what she looked like and what she kind of sounds like. And so I like hear her accent and all in my head. And then it was easier for me to visualize when I had other guides come in.
It's still interesting to me. I'm still grasping
I know
that
because you denied it for so long.
for so
He's
long,
like, fucking
and
psychics. He's always telling me, you fucking psychics, because I always call him on his shit. I'll know when he's doing something dirty. Like, I always know. I always know. And if I'm coming to you and telling you, if I'm asking you about something, it's because I already know about it. So, like, I'm the human lie detector.
I know my favorite one is when I was thinking about going to karaoke. Didn't even didn't tell her anything. Didn't do anything. Didn't and went and got the keys because at the time I borrowed my niece's Jeep because the RV wasn't running, and her Jeep is a lot easier to deal with than my RV is, even when it is running. So a lot of times I'll borrow her Jeep if I'm in town. So she goes and I literally I sat down, I went to message Heather, and she had popped up, said, "Have fun at karaoke." I'm like, I didn't even tell you I was going to karaoke yet. I was literally getting ready to text you that I'm going to karaoke,
You're welcome.
and then I decided. I'm like, thanks, fucking psychics. Um, Another friend of mine who is also psychic said to me something that set me on the tantric stuff and got my certifications for tantra because she said you got to, there's something about weaving the male and female together and like what I'm seeing for you, and I'm like, and
That energy
I knew
work that you've
exactly what
been
that
fighting me on this whole time. I don't
right,
do what you do. I can't possibly. Like, we do different things, don't get me wrong,
yeah,
but our
it's
basic idea of what we do is the same. And for 2 years, he argued with me. No, it's not. Mine's
no, it's
completely
not,
different than yours. No, it's not. And I'm like,
no,
it
it's not.
is. Your
It,
messaging and my messaging is different, but it's the same thing at its core. I mean, like, we're
and
doing the same thing. No, it's not. No, we're not. I'm not a
well,
healer.
because
No, I'm not a healer.
it's
No.
taken it's taken me this long. It's taken me this long, and it's taken me literally this whole year. It was April that or March. It was March, the end of March, when I started the tantra stuff, the
Yeah, because I
tantric,
was in the
the
hospital.
actual yeah, the actual courses. She was in the hospital, and I opened up floodgates and she's like, "Why would you do this while I'm in the hospital? I didn't know this was gonna happen." Like, she's
Because
like,
instead of coming to the person who is the expert in chakras and energy
"Yeah,
work, and why would you do that?
why would I
Why
do
would
that?"
you not come to me? Like that would just totally make sense. Hey, could you
Right?
kind of guide me through this a little
Yeah, yeah.
bit? He still won't
No,
let me, so there's that part.
and you know what's really? I'm gonna say something really horrible on screen, and I'm gonna apologize now. Heather is a fucking amazing. She's an amazing person. She is, and I trust her with every heart and soul. And I have her course, and I still have not gone through it. And I know
I
for a
don't care.
fact, I know that you don't care in a way that, but it's so funny because I know for a fact that it would really help me with what I'm dealing with right now. And every time I go to do it, somebody calls, something happens, and I get
Because it
distracted.
scares you, because my course is the real deal. So if you guys want to know
Yeah.
about my course is hardcore. This is
Mhm.
not a little like the if you sign up for my course to work with me one on one, this is a multiple month. It's like 3 months. I'm actually even like making it to where we do every 2 weeks. So it's actually
Yeah.
it works out to be like a 3 month course because you really need 2 weeks in between to process all the things because
Mhm.
I get to the core of why the fuck you do what you do. I get to the core of where in your life did these things come up and what are your blocks and what do we need to work on a release. And it is just the beginning, but it's hardcore and it's scary to do because I make you face all the deep fucking shit.
Hmm. And she does that for me anyways.
I mean, I
So,
do. I do. It's
so I'm terrified of actually trying to like go through. Like, Heather is probably one of the most authentic and powerful people I know, and
mm,
really is one of the people that, if you have any questions about any of the stuff that we're talking about today, she really is one of the people that I go
mm,
to on this. You know, I have a lot of tools, and I work with this too, guys. I do. If you're a gay man and you are working on this stuff, come to me. If anyone else, go to Heather. Um, but some of the things, she's the one that I go to when it comes to this. She's the one, energy wise, being comfortable. Some of the things that there's still parts of my story that I'm not comfortable with. One of them is the energy work. One of them is the stuff like this. Um, I had to go get certified so that I can like tell myself that I can do some of this. And it wasn't because I needed to know anything, because really I didn't.
right.
I didn't. I learned things. Don't get me wrong. I learned it.
Yeah.
I have a different language for some of the things I did before, um, in a more streamlined version of some of the stuff I do and
Yeah.
have done. Um, and I probably it doesn't change what I actually do at the core of it. It's still what I was doing before. It's just,
No, it just adds more to it.
yeah, deeper
It just gives you
deeper
more
understandings.
tools in your toolbox. Every time I go get
Mhm.
a certification, it really has to do with me having something else available to work with my clients with. One of my next ones is breath work. Somatic breath work is something that's a goal for 2025, is to actually go and take an in-person um course to be a yeah, to do breath work with people because it's so powerful. It's so powerful for me. And that it's just something that I really want to add to my toolbox. But I also do EFT tapping with clients. We do guided meditations. I find different ways to do different things with everyone because no one does it the same way.
Mhm.
No one, it doesn't, not, there's not one way to do something that works for everyone. It just doesn't work
Mhm.
that way. Everyone's an individual, and we find I find what works for you because what works for me, and I always come from a place of this is what worked for me. Now let's find what works for you.
Yeah, and one of the things I'm working on now is something I'm calling force meditation,
Yeah.
which should be interesting. That's a one-on-one, in person, um,
Yes.
energy session, and it's not for the faint of heart. I can promise you, it fits right in the show. So
Right.
we will,
All of the things that this show is about
right.
has to do with forced meditation. Yeah.
Yes.
You
So
get
we're
to
going.
change your story whenever you want. We think that we're
Yeah.
too old. We think that we're, oh, I've been dealing with it for so long. I just am going to keep going this way. I just had a session with a family member who's in her 70s, and even she is like, I don't know how to do that. I need to teach myself how to do these things. And I gave her some tools and I said, here's some things that, and if you get stuck in this process, let me know, and let's work through this together. So there's never, you're not too young, and the younger that you do this, trust me, the better your life will be because we will give you coping skills to change your story now, but you can change it whenever the fuck you want.
Yeah, and one of the things that we didn't hit on, which I really want to make sure, is that when the thought comes up,
Yeah.
right? One of the best tools I have, one of the best things I've ever been taught, is when that thought comes up, say out loud, and you do need to say it out loud, and you need to do some kind of hand gesture, and make it consistent, right? And this comes from NLP, and it's this is not my thought. This is not my thought. I'm stupid. That's not my thought. I know better. I know I'm not stupid, right? But how many times have I said, "Oh, I'm stupid"? No, I'm
Yeah.
not. Just in
Yes.
that moment, right? You have to catch it in that moment, because if you don't catch it in that moment, you're going to, it's just going to become a pattern, and you won't even realize it happened, right?
No,
It's
and you
these,
create a neurological pathway to go back to that same exact thing.
mhm. And then when that happens again, oh, I'm stupid. I keep catch my niece in that. She's, she just learned how to drive recently, and she's, doing some things, and she's been driving less than a year. So she's still, has some things that, and she's nervous, and she does this and she says that all the time. I'm like, no, you're not.
Right? I
I'm so
stop people
stupid.
all the time.
Yeah. And you have to stop and like hit, and it has to be a physical reaction too. That's not my thought. That's not my thought. That's mine. That's not my thought. Like,
Right.
wait a second. It's wake up, you
Yeah,
know?
that's one of the things. It's a longer quote. It's a whole saying, but the part that always stuck out to me is I have thoughts, I'm not my thoughts. Right? I'm
Hmm.
not my thoughts. I have thoughts, but I am not my thoughts. Right? Because we have thoughts, but we are not those thoughts. And so you get to change that process whenever you want.
Yeah. And that is the purpose of meditation, for me at least,
Yes.
by the way, is to separate you from your thoughts. You can get that moment of, oh, that's not me. That's not my thought. That's, you know, it just really does make a big difference. So as we close out
Yeah.
today, we like to close out our show with pulling a card, a message for our few people.
I love that I got two cards, but as we're talking about this, and we're talking about giving ourselves credit, wisdom comes up. I love these cards, and this is like my favorite card. And it says, have you ever been told that you are wise beyond your years? Now is the time to call upon your inner fairy wisdom to help you with a challenge. Know that the answers that you have are inside of you. Quit looking for external validation. Stop looking for external validation. The only person's validation that you need is your own. Live the life that you want. And keep hope that no matter what you do, because two cards fell out, can't make this up, that no matter what, keep hope because you will make it through this. You have survived 100% of your bad days up until this point. That's a pretty good fucking record.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's funny because mine always like coordinates.
Yeah,
It's the seven of cups, which is all about possibilities,
yeah.
right? We are not just one thing. We're so many different possibilities in this moment. I could go on a list, right,
Yes.
of all the different possibilities I could be in this moment. One of them is naked, and you guys don't want to see that. Well, some of you guys might, but that's
Fabulous. But I always
you know,
am.
but you always are. So, how are you limiting yourself? What limiting belief in where you're not seeing possibility?
Yeah, I love it.
I do too. I love you.
I love
Thank
you.
you so much for being here.
Thanks for coming and hanging out with me and doing this show with me. I love this show. We're gonna be doing some fun stuff over the next couple weeks. Things are gonna be changing up with the show a little bit. We're gonna be, of course, go get our merch, spiritualsexandcandy.com. Go check us out. Go get our merch over on T Public. We have a bunch of fun stuff. Get a logo shirt. We've got a bunch of them over there. I love to make fun, sassy shirts. So moist.
I could
Moist
do what
for
I
all you
want.
people who love that word, moist. We have a shirt that says moist.
I
Go
could
buy
do what
some
I
merch
want.
from us. Go support us. And you can find me at Living Oracle Wellness across the board. IG, over on the talk.
I have a really cool profile links inside. If you go into the Spiritual Sex and Candy, you can actually get all of it. I just redid all of those, so go and tell me what you think because I redid that whole page. So I would really appreciate your feedback. Go to Spiritual
Awesome.
Sex and Candy, click on my link, tell me what you think. Book a call. There's all kinds of different ways to do that.
That's right.
I love you all. Thank
I love
you.
you. Have a wonderful day.
You too.
Everyone here at the True Awesome Network asks you to please subscribe, like, comment, and spread awesome.